Thank you very much, ma'am. How are you, friends? I'm not able to hear much. We all have something to eat, isn't it? How are you? Okay, great. Right. I thought it was. I mean, we must be well charged because what happened in the last session, it aroused a lot of curiosity in us, isn't it? Right. So from here on, we are going to take on a different journey, and we'll build on the foundation that we had in the morning with Dr. Maiti's session. Like application. There was a question also, how do we apply these things in life? Right? So are you all ready? Okay. In the morning during the introduction, we have heard why this is a very auspicious and a great day today, isn't it? Do you all remember? Any response? Doctor's Day? Doctor's Day, okay. There is one more very important, connection to this day today. In fact, today, the 1st of July, 2023, in the next 3 to 4 hours from now, in Wimbledon, near London, will be inaugurated the full-size life statue of the person who has been instrumental in bringing academic science to India. Any guess? Sorry? Swami Vivekananda, okay. You have come very close. In fact, okay. ये काम नहीं कर रहा है, ये नहीं करेगा. Okay. So basically, today, Sister Nivedita's life-size statue is going to be inaugurated in Wimbledon. And why this is significant here is because, when the first science institute of the country, the IISc, was to be built in, there was huge resistance from the British government. And Sir Jamshedji Tata had a tough time to build that institution. He could not see this institution, of course, in his lifetime, but it was the effort of Sister Nivedita who took it to the British Parliament to get an approval of setting up this institute, because the British government felt that the native do not require education in science. Right? And we all know that somebody said Swami Vivekananda. In fact, Sister Nivedita came to India because she met Swami Vivekananda when he was in London. And as a disciple of Swami Vivekananda, she came to India, and from there on, the Renaissance has begun in terms of education in India. That's what it makes a very, very, important day for us and out here. And what is interesting is that Swami Vivekananda, when he went to West, it was in this city. Months before he went to the West, it was in this city that he has announced his mission for the West. In Secunderabad, in the Mehboob College, he revealed his mission for the West in a famous lecture just before going to Chicago. So as you can see, and out here where we are in Hyderabad only, engaged in discussing science, and that to popular science. So you can understand, what is the implication of this interaction that we are having in our participation, isn't it? Are you all excited? Okay, so I would say, Hail Telangana! Come on, Hail Telangana! Super. Remember, what we are going to discuss now is going to be about life. And if you've attended life workshop ever, there is going to be huge intensity, because I'm going to challenge you with a lot of research, lot of ideas, and a lot of curiosity to be generated. So we need, total participation, and then only, we can apply that. Because the question of application, as Dr. Maiti said, it depends upon how we, navigate ourselves, isn't it? So are you all ready? Right? So then let's start it by doing one thing. Look to the person on the right or left of yours. See eye to eye, shake their hand and say, partner, Partner, hello, how are you? एक बार फिर से, once more, shake hand and say, partner, how are you? Partner, today is a historical day, let's make history. Loud, come on. Today is a historical day, let's make history. Lovely, we are on, right? So let me, just give you a, life experience first of all. We are going to discuss about how our brain functions and what makes us become great in life. Right? So we'll do a small exercise to start with. Do you all have a copy with you and a pen? Let's do one activity we have done many times in life. Just draw a scenery. Just draw a scenery, any scenery. You all have drawn sometimes, isn't it? In 30 seconds, just draw a scenery.
First of all, 1 minute. If any kids are not having pen and paper, please let me know. I will take the kids.
Okay? Okay, just draw a scenery, 30 seconds. But we are going to go fast. Anybody who has drawn? Anybody finished? Draw a scenery, 30 seconds time, not more than that. Even we grown-ups can also do it. We'll enjoy the activity. That's what is my promise. Okay, you did it? All of you? Okay, now show your scenery to the partner sitting left to you or right to you. Show your, and you see his. So, what did you notice? What is that you noticed? Sorry? Same? Same? Almost similar? Everybody? Now you tell me, in Hyderabad, where have you found this sky and sun and river, but you have drawn this scenery? That old one, the red sun. So, why did you do this? Because you have seen greater sceneries in life. We call ourselves creative. But that old pattern we are holding on to. Did anybody ask you not to draw an extraordinary scenery? Sorry? You have drawn something else. Okay, so give her a round of applause. What's your name? Okay, whenever somebody does great, which inspires us, we will hail by saying, aha. How will say? Ek baar fir say, aha. So this is for you. Come and take this from, aha for her. Take this. Okay, so this workshop is going to be that intense now for the next 1 hour. Right? So remember, what is important to understand. Is there a, clicker somewhere? Can somebody help me with this? Because it will take time. See, what is happening is, what does it teach us about human brains? That we all have drawn the same picture, almost. What does it tell us about our brain and our life? Right. From the brain perspective, let me give you, this is the nature of the brain. It shows one thing, that whatever we do and repeat for some times, whatever we think and repeat for some times, whatever we see and repeat for some times, whatever we hear and repeat for some times, there is a neural pathway we are building in the brain. Are you getting it? This is the trick of the brain to conserve energy for you, because the brain does not want you to every time use your thinking energy and do something. Oh, great. So this shows that we have got, a neural pathway built already. So one thing is very clear. Next slide, please. What we are doing every day by any action, any seeing, any hearing is that we are building habits. And that habit is the neural pathway in the brain. And our life is determined by this. If Dr. Maiti has been able to develop Feluda kit, it's because his neural wiring was different than many of us. Agreed or not? Huh? His mental habits were different, isn't it? So that's the power of mental habits, right? And I'll give you an idea of what is habit according to neuroscience and in brain. It is very simple, as you see here. It just says it is something which is unconscious, you don't realize, it is consistent, same. And it is not only with what you do, it's about what you think and how you feel. So if I feel sad every morning, the day when the cricket match would happen and India would win the World Cup, early in the morning you wake up, still you'll feel sad for something that has gone wrong. Because that's the emotional habit we are building. Are you getting it? So that's how our brain operates. So first, have this principle of the brain. Understand that whatever we do repeatedly, what will happen? It gets coded in our brain. Aha, for him. Aha. Kya baat hai? You come and take this, please. Sir, inko ye pass kar denge. Zara. This is for you. Okay. So ye background understanding pehle rakhte hain. And then we will move now. Okay? Now, we are going to talk about this, but let me illustrate what is performance nervousness really with a story. There was a Zen who used to have, all the young lamas were trained under him. The spiritual monastery was there. And, for the concentration of the mind, the Zen used to teach them archery skills. And the lamas were very good in archery skill. And one of the boys, a young lama, he was so good at it that he could, aim at a tree, shoot the arrow, it would pierce exactly at that point, and after that he would shoot a second arrow and it would split that first arrow. He was such an expert. And he was so proud about it, he used to brag about that to every other students in the monastery. And one day the Zen masters, observed this and realized that this is not good. Okay, let me do something about it. So, he said, tomorrow morning we're going to take on an expedition, a trekking. So let's go. So they started, trekking up the hill, and they reached a point where they have found that there was a chasm. Oh, in Hindi we call it khai. There was a chasm. And on the other side of the chasm in the ravine, there was another hillock. But interestingly, there was a trunk of a tree which acted as a bridge from one hillock to the other hillock. Sometime it fell and now it became a bridge. And the Zen master, he climbed up the hill and superbly, sweetly, he went through the bridge, that narrow bridge, to the other side of the hill. And all the students, they stopped. Because it was so depth, so much of depth. And then after he went on the other side, he came back to the mid of it again, put his bow and arrow, took the position and hit a tree and then hit the second arrow to split the first arrow. And he went again on the other side of the hillock. And then, from there he called that student who was bragging about his skill. You come and do it. And the other guy, he was frightened now to go there. And still he was thinking what others would think. He still managed to go to the middle of it. And he put out his bow and arrow, shot it, and the target, he was off target. Went somewhere else. And then he started crying and then, stopped there. And kind of he hugged the trunk. And he said, save me, save me, save me, save me. Then the master came, pulled him out and took it there and said, my son, skill can be achieved through practice, but performance is something else. Performance is something else. That's exactly performance nervousness. You're getting it? You know how to be done, and yet somehow we do not act. We are not able to do. Have you all faced sometime this? Right? We all have faced. Maybe, during a public lecture, in sport, in art, on the stage. Sometimes before the exams also. I have heard students saying, before the exams, I feel as if some bomb blast happens and the exam gets postponed. Did you have that? Right? So that's performance nervousness. And that's what we are going to talk about today. Are you all ready? Will it be useful? Next slide, please. Right? But I want to first know from you, who are some of your heroes in life? Who really inspires you? Sorry? Steve Jobs? Elon Musk? Sorry? Stephen Hawkins. Oh, great. Tony Robbins. Okay. Okay, MS Dhoni. So first, let's see, that we all face the performance nervousness, whether they face or not. See this video. This is Elon Musk. Okay. Ali? This is clapping out of happiness because you are not alone. You are not alone. Remember, all your heroes also face that even today. They also face that. But first of all, if you want to break through this, we need to understand why does this happen to even the great people. So I'll first give you a scientific foundation as to why it happens, even to the greats. Even Swami Vivekananda, he also, felt nervous just before saying Sisters and Brothers of America. He kept on postponing his turn when it came. Thoda baad, aisa karte rahe. Next slide. And not only, next slide. Next slide. Yes. Then even Sachin Tendulkar on record, he said 12 years he had nightmares. Before facing Shoaib Akhtar, he was feeling that nightmares, right? So even he felt. So now why it happens? Next slide. See what has happened over the years. This is how the brain has evolved. Millions of years ago, when we were in jungles, we were, native of the jungles, all other animals around us were far more stronger, almost. And we had a threat of life. And generations after generations of human beings were being killed by them. And later on, this fear and nervousness, emerged in human brain, and the region called amygdala in the brain, it started developing more. The thickness of it grew a little bit over millions of years, and that's how it started spotting the fear far ahead than the actual timing of the fear. Are you getting it? So this was a survival instinct that developed, and because of that, we could survive today. Because there was fear, because there was nervousness, we could, act to save our life. So that's how the brain has evolved over the millions of years. But one thing, in jungle, this was useful because when that happened, the response to such challenges by humans was, next slide please, was two things. When the fear arises, you either kill or you run away. That was the strategy, because that's what happens when you feel fear, isn't it? Even today, you either give too much energy or you give too much energy to run away, right? So that was the classical instinct that people have developed. This is called flight and fight response. Have you heard about it? But the point is that in today's life, we are not being chased by a mountain lion every day. We are not having threats of life, but small thing happening in our life. So the news of coronavirus came in, everybody felt that I'm going to die, right? Exam ka paper, it will come very, tough this time. If there is a news, we all feel as if I will die. I will die, don't do that. That's a common phrase, isn't it? So that's because, this is a survival instinct. Getting it? But today, actually, what happened by developing the brain in such a way, the brain is now in a state where it overestimates the threat. And even a small pinch, when you have, the brain thinks that the life is threatened. And it takes you to the fight or flight response. Are you all together? But the greats, next slide please. But the greats, what they do, only 5% of the people are having 95% of the wealth in the world. Do you know? These people, they have mastered something else. They've gone beyond the normal. They also feel the fear, but they've rewired the brain. Like you have rewired your brain to draw the same scenery, right? They have rewired the brain to find an alternative motivation, not to survive, but to achieve excellence, right? And they have found an alternative way. We are going to discuss that today. What do they do? Right? Next slide, please. So see why it is true. Elon Musk, when he started Tesla, he invested 180 million and he says that he knew that the project would fail. Still he invested. So how he has dealt with fear? He said, I felt the fear because I knew I could go bankrupt, yet he did it. So that means we can do it. Right? Mahendra Singh Dhoni also said that I felt fear when I went to bat in 2011 World Cup, for a moment. But, later on, nahi hua uske baad. So we are going to discuss that. Next slide, please. So now the question I have is that if you are to now choose how tomorrow would be, how many of you would say you want that tomorrow you feel nervous? Shall I repeat the question? If you have the power to choose how tomorrow would be, how many of you would hope that tomorrow you feel tremendous pressure, stress, and nervousness? Okay, only few brave souls. Okay, we will come. Okay, great. We'll come to that. Okay, but let us find out what should be the right answer to this question. And another agenda of today is to find out what is the relationship of nervousness to our life and achievements we are going to see. Okay, so next slide. Actually, if you see the great people, what they've achieved, Swami Vivekananda has pointed out precisely earlier. He said, you all are already great, but you behave as if you're in jungle. You are actually hypnotized. And all you need to do is dehypnotize. You don't have to learn anything new. All knowledge is within. You just need to, clear the screen of mind. You have to dehypnotize. So we are going to see how Elon Musk, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, and all others, Dr. Homi Bhabha, they have dehypnotized themselves and achieved great. Or Dr. Shobhik Maiti, for that matter, right? So next slide, please. See, first of all, today I'm going to give you all scientific foundation. Okay? So if you do not understand at any point in time, stop me, right? Okay? So in every year, actually, the Gallup poll, there is a multi-country survey being done by a company called Gallup. It went to 122 countries last year and asked one single question. Along with many other questions, this was the question. Did you experience a lot of pressure and demands yesterday? All of you, right? Most of you. In fact, they also, when they asked this question in 122 countries, they found that 50% of the world population felt that, they had pressure yesterday to perform. Next slide, please. But interesting thing is, and they developed something called a stress index. As you can see, the countries with the, which of the countries having higher, with the color you can identify. We'll come to that. Okay? You can see India somewhere in between, right? About 35 to 40% of the people in India felt stressed yesterday, right? Now, when this study came out, group of psychologists in 2010 from US, they joined hands together and they said, okay, let us find out what is the state of well-being in those countries where people are highly stressed, right? In fact, the highest stress is found in Afghanistan last year, right? And the lowest stress is found in countries, like Bhutan and countries like that, right? So none of them are great. But when, we see, next slide, please, that the developed countries in the world, most of them are high stressed. And although they are high stressed, their economy is excellent. It's growing. GDP is great. Life expectancy, as you can see, this data I pulled up, even not only life expectancy, not only the longevity, healthy life expectancy is also higher there. So it was a kind of a paradox that how come this happened? We've been told that, avoid stress, avoid pressure. Next slide, please. But another interesting thing was found in the Gallup trial. They wanted to see that along with stress, what are the other emotions they had? So many people who felt stressed, they said they felt sad, they felt worried at the same time. Almost all of them said, at the end of the day, we felt that there was joy. There was some kind of learning. There was love in the air. Somebody I found that I love. Something I found that I love. Some work I found I love. And there was some laughter as well. As Dr. Maiti was showing, right? We do not work like mechanically. We go to the restaurant, we enjoy. Are you getting it? So this is, next slide please. This is what we are calling a performance pressure paradox. At one point, we are saying we do not want high pressure because it will ruin our life. And another point is showing that without pressure, you cannot thrive. Right? And all what I am sharing is all scientific. I am sharing the papers on the slide. Next slide, please. So now, in Yale University in 2013, there came a lot of psychologists and neuroscientists together, and they thought, let us see, if stress can give rise to good well-being, what is the key thing in it? But because in Afghanistan, we don't see well-being. And again, in Bhutan, we do not see that much achievements. So what is there really? So they've tried to find out whether there's something with thinking. So they tried to find out thinking that stress is good. Like the few people you said, I hope tomorrow will be, stress in my life. So does that make any difference? So there is something called stress mindset, right? One group of people who thought stress is good, it can help me out, and I can manage the stress. Another group says stress is not good. We should avoid it because it ruins life. It leads rise to heart attack, depression, and all those things we all know. So what happens? Right? Next slide, please. So in University of Wisconsin, under the leadership of University of Wisconsin, there was a study being done. Right? This is very interesting. 30,000 people were being asked, last year, did you have stress and pressure? Then they were asked, do you think stress is good or bad? And then they have, checked the death records over the next 8 years in US. In fact, let me first give you, the startling findings, what happened. After 8 years, next slide. After 8 years, it has been found that people who had stress in life, that increased the risk of death by 43%. So now, do you want stress in life? No. Okay, I'll give you the real revelation. Next slide. It is only true for people who thought that stress was bad. There was not a single digit increase in death risk in people who saw stress as useful and they thought, I can manage it. Are you getting it? So the 43% was an increase of dying just for believing the stress is bad. Next slide. So if this, now the psychologists started thinking, if this was true, then believing stress is bad will be the number 16 cause of death in the world. It is much more than HIV and AIDS. Right? So that's the paradox. So, but then this was an initial study. Later on, next slide. Later on, now there was a Columbia Business School study similarly. They wanted to study, thinking about stress mein kya hota hai. So what they did, listen to this carefully. What they did, they recruited young people and they said, you'll have to give a persuasive talk. And in giving a talk, there is always stress, right? And they recruited some evaluator. They were being trained to harass the, presenter on the stage, on the floor. Which means if they started to speak something, they will stop. Ruko. Wait. Your body language is not right. Your words are wrong. This study, where did it publish? They're trying to interrupt. And you can understand how much stress would be induced. Because they are being told that the best few presenters would be given some dollars. Young people, they were interested, right? So now what happened? They divided the group into two. One group, what they did was they showed a video. Next slide. They showed a video where they said, we all know stress is bad, but research suggests stress is life-threatening. You should not adapt stress. So they've shown a video and trained them to think that stress is bad. And the other group, next slide, please. Other group was trained to see stress as enhancing, which means they should have shown a video and then, this video said that all of us know that pressure is bad, fear is bad, but research suggests it is good. And they were given all evidence like what we are doing today here. And what is the result? Next slide, I will show you. First result was people who thought that stress is good and they were trained to see things as good, stress as good. they did far better, one. But this was not enough because this was a subjective experience. So what they did, they took blood sample from the participants and before the talk and after the talk. And they measured something called DHEA. And because a lot of scientists here will know, DHEA is a stress hormone. Right? It is a precursor of testosterone. Yeah? I will come to you. Just a minute, okay? It's okay, fine. Right? So they measured the DHEA. Now DHEA, what it does after you have a physical stress in a gym or what, when you have it, it releases testosterone, it helps to build muscles. Right? So it helps you to fight the physical stress. But one thing which very few people know is that DHEA is also called a neurosteroid. What it is called? Neurosteroid. It means it is released in the body, but it goes to the brain, and in brain, what it does is this. It strengthens the muscles of the brain from the stress of life. If you have a huge stress today, and then DHEA is released, it strengthens, it leads something called neurogenesis. It helps to, get the brain cells active again. Are you getting it? So they found that those people who were trained to see stress as good, pressure is good, nervousness is good, and I can manage it, their DHEA level was higher. So it was not that only they reported that, that they were better speakers, but they are able to fight the fear more. Are you all there with me? So now, how many of you want to adopt stress? Okay, it's increasing. Let's see what happens at the end. Yeah, you wanted to say something.
Very nervous and anxious because what if at school, at my class, so what if I miss someone? What if I don't give someone and like they might feel bad and I was like very anxious. So I was like that. So my father said that, see, it's not the stress, it's not the fear that the thing is. It is the thing that how you handle fear. So he gave me a solution that it's okay to have that fear. If you miss someone, it's like bad, they might feel bad. So he said me, like, it's okay, like next day you give them double something bigger than which you might have forgotten to give yesterday. So they might even feel happier,
Great.
It is the way you handle this fear. Yes, that.
Great, superb. So give an aha to
One more
her,
thing.
and this is for you. Come and take this. Dada, isko aap de dijiye. Aha for her. Aha, जोर से. Come on, yaar. 1, 2, 3. Aha. Great. Okay. So now you have got. We are getting into the groove, right? But that is not enough. Next slide, please. That is not enough. So I'm going to. I want to emphasize that it is not the only study. There was a Harvard study. They found similar things. Next slide. Same thing, same study they did. One interesting thing in the Harvard study, what they found is that when they were being stopped in between, people who were trained to see stress and pressure is good, they did not have, the focus going off from what they prepared. They were having greater emotional resilience. Next thing is that their heart, when it was studies, two things happened. One, they're feeling the pounding heart, but then what has been found that the cardiac output, the amount of blood that reached the brain was far higher. The resistance, the peripheral resistance, which prevents the blood from circulating in nervousness, that was reduced. Next slide, please. Right. So these are all studies now saying not only mentally, but also physiologically, thinking that stress is something I can manage and it's enhancing, it can have a profound impact in our life. Are you all together? Right? Next slide, please. So the point here is that, but it is not as simple as that. It is not a motivational talk. This is where the science session starts now. Remember, many people have lost, the battles that they should have won because they thought I will use positivity. So please don't use that. Here, what Swami Vivekananda, once again, long back, he clarified this. You should not only have faith, but have intellectual faith. What? Got it? What does that mean? You must have reasons. Give him an aha, please. Again. Aha. Kya baat hai? You take this, take this, take this. Please. Okay. So remember, you must have a reason to believe that why you can handle stress. All these studies, if you see, only people when they were trained, then only this worked. In the Harvard study, there was a control group where they were being told, but they were not trained how to manage the stress, how to handle the fear. So there it did not, the positive effects were not there. So the point here is that we should not only think positive, but we should have the belief. So for belief, you need to have reasons. So I'll show you how this is to be done. Next slide. So what I'm telling is not out of hat. These are the two scientists who are working, who were the pioneers. They said two things are required. One is your perception that stress is good. Second thing is that stress appraisal, which means there must be a reason why I will be able to handle the stress. Like what Mahendra Singh Dhoni, when he went to bat in the 2011 World Cup, he had some reasons that I think I have done that earlier in my gully cricket. I think I haven't done much in this World Cup. Maybe today is the day, right? So law of average will work. So something, he had to apprise himself with reason why this will work. Then only after some time the fear goes away and you are in a flow, right? So now the point here is that how do we do that? So what it is coming out is two things. One, if you become too positive and heart to heart you know that I cannot handle it, it will not work. Just see, very high stress, you will find burnout, you will quit. And no stress, you will feel bored and you will not fight out. So you need something called optimum. Are you getting? And optimum stress means, I am accepting stress, but then, I have belief why I can handle it. Are you all together? Right? So now I'm going to share you what is the scientific evidence how to do that. Remember we said that brain hates uncertainty. That's why we have the fear, isn't it? So the trick here is to how Mahendra Singh Dhoni, how Sachin Tendulkar, they are world class in difficult situation is because they are able to shift the uncertainty to certainty in advance. Next slide, please. So the trick here is that, Tony Robbins, somebody says, he's my, teacher actually. So Tony once told me that, in one of the sessions that, how he's trained Michael Jordan in one of his sessions. He said he trained him to see certainty in advance. Means before you go into the situation, you have already seen the situation in your mind. Are you getting it? So that's how you build certainty in advance. So many champions, what they are doing is they know that I am feeling fear. So what they will do is that in advance, they will work on it so that, when the situation comes, they feel fear for only few seconds. And after that, they be on flow. Are you all together? So how to do that? How to do that, next slide, is been done for centuries by many greats. Can anybody read this? This is Paul Gauguin, he's a Renaissance artist, world-class artist. He said that I shut my eyes to see, which means in advance he's able to see his creation by shutting his eyes. That's the secret of champions. Beforehand, how they come to believe that I can handle it is because, they can visualize before the thing has happened in their mind. Wright brothers, he could visualize the aeroplane flying. He could visualize that when the aeroplane hits with an accident, they're regrouping again and again, coming back and setting it to fly. What is happening? They're visualizing not only the best things, they're also visualizing the blood being drenched out and how they're managing those things. Are you getting it? So if we are able to do this, next slide, please. If we are able to do this, research suggests that we'll be able to do it. I'll give you click kijiye video ko. Click the video, please. Here. right? The key thing is that you cannot just land on the situation and then say, I will do it. It means in advance you need to create certainty. In this interview, he talks about how he was fearing Mitchell Johnson, the Australian bowler. And yet he was visualizing with difficulty how he is hitting Mitchell Johnson, how he is being hit on the face, and then taking care of himself on the crease and again hitting back. Are you getting it? Right? So this is a technique that if you can adopt beforehand, this will mean that you will feel fear, but because you practice that, like this drawing that you did in the morning, you will eventually do it even if you do not want. Are you getting it? Huh? Yeah? How to get the resolve to try something new? We are going to tell you, in the next few slides. Great. Give him an aha, please. Aha, zor se. I'll give you. Take this. This will help you. Okay. So, next slide, please. Next slide. So, why it works? I'll give you scientific evidence. Because the brain cannot distinguish whether you are imagining or it is happening in reality. Are you getting it? So, if you are dreaming and you see somebody is slapping you, you'll feel the same pain, right? Has anybody experienced that? If you fall down, you'll feel the same pain, which means the brain cannot distinguish whether we are imagining or it is really happening, right? And if you have repeated that for some times, what will happen? What will happen? It will become habit. It will become habit, right? So that's what Virat Kohli said. It becomes habit to hit the greatest bowlers, right? So, and anything that you repeatedly done, whenever there is the stimulus, whenever that bowler comes to ball, you will play like that, the way you have imagined. So we will do a visualization to see how it works. But then, there are other things as well. Next slide. Okay. Now, listen to this. But remember, this is not all. There are other things also. It's not that today I visualize that I'm going to do this session tomorrow, or I visualize I'm doing well in exam and it will happen. It will not happen. In fact, India's 2011 World Cup mental conditioning journey was for 13 months. Right? So it takes time to rewire your brain. Hear this. This is Elon Musk, what he is saying. What message you are getting here? Right? Because to have this belief, you'll have to persist in something. If you're visualizing, you'll have to persist with the visualization despite failures. If you are doing something, you'll have to persist. So another facet to handling fear is like persisting to face that fear again and again. Are you getting it? But here was the question, right? How to create that resolve? Because the resolve breaks when you face that. So what is the brain tricks to take on that even if you fail for some time? Because if you do that for some time, then you will go into the flow after some time, right? So what is the thing to do that? Next slide, please. Give you a scientific study. See, what is happening in the brain is that you have got one brain, but there are two minds. It is clashing. One part of your mind is saying, I will eat apple. Another part is saying, no. Let me eat the burger. So same thing is happening, the resolve, what you said, right? You have a resolve today, but after 3-4 days, chalo theek hai, let me do something else. Right? So that's the challenge the brain is having. Next slide, please. So I will share with you one experiment. Next slide. A willpower experiment that will give you. How many of you resonate with this? How many of you felt like this or had experienced this? Okay. So remember, thank you for being honest. Remember, this is one of the signs of failed willpower. Why? Next slide. I'll show you a study. It will share with you. See, there was a study which was being done in the Brown University where there was a very challenging willpower, experiment being done. Those were, people who were addicted with drugs. They were taken into rehabilitation and they were being treated with such a way that they do not latch back onto the drugs again. So it is a very difficult challenge. So what they did was that they divided the group into two and they did a sleep intervention. They wanted to see if they sleep a little deeper, will the willpower be more to sustain with the rehabilitation, efforts. So what they did is that one group they took and then, they trained them to do a breath focused, meditation. Like, just close your eyes and see how you're breathing in and breathing out in your mind for 2 to 3 minutes. And then, they wanted to know that if that would lead to greater sleep. It has been found, next slide please. It has been found that people who did this breath focused meditation, they had a greater willpower. Their relapse was not there. They did not went back to the drugs again. Are you getting it? Why? Because their sleep has improved. Those who are scientists here or studying science, they will know this is very, very significant. 0.70 is very, very significant. Statistically, very, very significant, right? So here, next slide, please. Here, what is happening is that when you have a deep sleep, there is a part of the brain here called the prefrontal cortex, which gives you the willpower, because you have to be conscious to do it, right? Oftentimes when you eat the ice cream, you're unconscious. So, but you have to rouse your conscious brain. So this conscious brain, as you can see, the yellow one, it shows that, people who had slept better, this part in the MRI scan, this part has lit up, which means their prefrontal cortex, the muscle were far more stronger for them to exercise the willpower. And people who did not sleep well, they had that in red, as you can see here. Right? So one way of, keeping your resolve up is to have good deep sleep every night. And if you're struggling with that, do a breath focused meditation for how many minutes? 2 to 3 minutes. But this has to be done regularly. If we do this regularly, we can become like Elon Musk, persisting. Okay? Yeah, you wanted to say something?
What if a new challenge arrives at the moment, like you weren't aware of it?
Okay, I will come to your question. So, do we have another 10-15 minutes, sir? 10-15 minutes? Okay, then I will answer your question a little later. Okay, so remember that two things have come. One, we need to do visualization in advance and see ourselves being successful as well as failing, and then coming back on that failure again. Yeah? Thank you so much for this question. This is a very important question. I will answer your question right away. What is habit? Habit is learning for the brain to adapt something. And if you have to go to the anatomy and physiology, there are two things actually that has to happen in the brain. One, the chemical, the neurotransmitter has to flow in a particular direction. You have to change the way your neurotransmitter flows intuitively, right? And another thing is that you change the structure of the brain, which means the connections to one neuron to the other neuron, that wiring has to be changed, right? And this requires some time because this was evolutionary important. Because if we are able to just change in a flash, we would die. We may make a wrong decision and the tiger may haunt us. Are you getting it? So God has created it in such a way that these changes happen deliberately. When we decide and we do it for some time, we know that this is important, then it will change. Does that answer your question? Now give her an aha, please. Aha, zor se. Aha. Are you all are students or not? You all are Telangana students? Then why the Swami Vivekananda, he shared his mission here because he knew that he will get some energy in this place. So can you energize all of us? Aha! Ah, great. Super. Ma'am, this is for you. Okay, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Are you getting till this point? Is that okay? Okay. Next slide, please. Next slide. See, only sleep would not strengthen the prefrontal cortex. There are other studies I have not shared, but there are other things also. If you don't want to, do this breath focus meditation and sleep deeper, and you're not able to do it for some reason, you can also do some exercise. If you do regular exercise for 20 minutes every day, then your prefrontal cortex, the willpower muscle, is going to develop. It has been found that if you do exercise once in the morning, 16 hours, till 16 hours, your willpower remains static. I mean, which means if I do an exercise at 8 o'clock in the morning, at 8 p.m. in the evening, if I have a temptation to go and take a roll, egg roll or chicken roll or something like that, the person who does regular exercise, he can exercise control. Break. Yeah. We will do it. We'll do it. So you can do physical exercise. Another thing is that diet is also very important. It's been found that if we put ourselves with too much of sugar, this willpower muscle, it suffers. Right? This prefrontal cortex, it gets weakened. So we'll have to really balance. Next slide, sir, please. So till now, what you have seen is 3 practices. Can anybody suggest what are the 3 practices we need to do to face fear? One is visualization, right? Then? So having strong willpower, what should we do to have strong willpower? So you do a breath focus meditation and sleep. Don't compromise on your sleep. Right? So that is very important. Right? And then, next question you asked that, what should you do instantly? What happens? Let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah. Just a minute. Go to the next slide, please. और एक बार अच्छा ये देख लीजिए उसके बाद we are coming to you. Okay, click the video please. Hear this, you'll get your answer. Next slide. So as you can see, he is doing a trick here. He's saying when he's feeling emotionally, really driven, that point in time, somehow he is able to recruit his thinking. Means he is not flowing with the emotion. He somehow is able to stop it and think rationally. Are you getting it? He is able to do it. So why it happens? Because you see in this picture, there is a part of the brain here, which is called the prefrontal cortex, which gives us the willpower. And deep within, there is something called a limbic structure or an amygdala, which gives fear. The trick of the brain is that both of these cannot function simultaneously. If one center works, the others will sleep. Are you getting it? So when we have high emotions, what is happening is that it's firing the emotion in a way, it is not allowing the thinking brain to work. Why? Because the thinking brain requires a lot of energy. And when there is a huge emotion, I need more energy to run or to quit, right? Something I have to do. So the thinking brain is stopped. Are you getting it? Now, the thing is that, next slide. See this, that you have an emotional brain and thinking brain. What Mahendra Singh Dhoni does is that he activates the thinking brain. And the moment he activates, the emotional brain goes down. So you can only have one. So the key thing is that in moments of high emotions, you just have to activate your thinking brain. I'll give you a tip which will help you. Are you getting it? Because if you can activate a thinking, immediately the emotion will go away. Right? Next slide. You all have phones with you? Anybody has phone? Okay, if you have a phone, all you need to do is that when you're feeling very emotionally charged, type in Google this thing, feeling words. Okay? If anybody has a phone, you can try it right now. Type this thing. Next slide. Once you type this, search, you will find these words. Okay? These are many feelings, human feelings. So all you need to do is that, say you're feeling fear for exams, for stage, for anything. Just go to Google, type feeling words and pick out this list and find out which is the feeling exactly I'm having right now. Right? Getting it? So you found that, okay, I'm feeling, annoyed, or I'm feeling arrogant, or I'm feeling agitated, but you have to find the exact feeling. So find from that list whatever is the feeling. The moment you find that feeling, actually you have activated your thinking brain and the emotional brain sleeps. Are you getting it? Next slide. What I am telling you is not only possible in English, it is also possible in Telugu. You can try this also. You just try feeling words in Telugu. Google is going to give you that. So your phone, the moment you are having fear, go there and find the exact words and see what I am feeling. Then close your eyes and say, at this point in time, I'm feeling agitated. Like before the session, what happened to me, I was thinking how I'm feeling like. The moment that I thought that I'm feeling, okay. So the moment I found that I'm feeling excited, I realized, and the excitement went off. Got it? Next slide. I'm coming to the questions. So, and this is a very ancient science. In Patanjali Yoga Sutras, one of the commandments was that the tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. It says, the moment you become observer of your own thought, your highest self shines. Right? So that's dehypnotizing. Next slide, please. And now neuroscience has caught up. This is a scientific evidence. It is called leveling the feeling. You just find the name of the feeling and immediately the emotion stops there and you can work like Mahendra Singh Dhoni, thinking which bowler to work out, which plan to execute and all those things. Are you all together? Huh? So now we are going to do, an exercise because, next slide please. Because if you were to do this exercise, you will see two exercises are, you have to do it as a practice before you face fear. And one exercise during fear. Right? I have given you. So we'll have to do an exercise. So shall we do the exercise and then take the question? One visualization exercise I'm going to, help you out too. Are you able to, will you want to do it? So let's do that. So to do that, what we need to do is that you need to sit straight. So I'll show you. So sit like this, sit straight. Anybody who does this will get benefited, right? So sit straight. The key thing is that the base of your spine, the back of your neck, and the crown of your head has to be in a straight line, right? So you sit like this, and then dheere se, gently close your eyes and follow my instructions. Okay? So now just focus on the breath. Don't do deep breathing. Just focus on how you are inhaling and exhaling. What is happening in a normal breath. Close your eyes and do that and just see, how you're breathing. Focus on the nostrils. You will see there is a gush of air getting inside when you're inhaling and there is a gush of air when you're exhaling. Okay, observe that. As you observe that, you will see that the breath is getting longer and deeper. That is a sign that you are getting calm. Great. Superb. Now, from here, think about an audacious goal you have and imagine that you have already achieved that. You have already achieved that audacious goals that you have. It could be in sport, it could be in music, it could be in studies, it could be in anything. An audacious goal that you want to accomplish, and imagine that you have achieved. View that circumstance and imagine as what is happening once you have achieved it. Who all are congratulating you? Who all are there with you? What is the kind of, attire that you are putting on? What is that feeling at that point in time you're having? Who all are there around you? Identify the feeling at that point in time. Superb. Now, imagine to achieve this dream, what are some of the hurdles that you had to pass that was trying to stop you and how you handled it? Think of one obstacle that you had and find out how you have handled that. You will see, you will generate some idea to handle that obstacle. If you're not able to generate idea, still see yourself struggling to, manage that obstacle. And then imagine slowly that you are cruising ahead. You have overcome the obstacles. You're going through the journey of achieving that. You're doing with intensity the practices that is needed for you to be successful. And at the end, now imagine that the final day has come. You're executing it. And then you have achieved it. Again, imagine the circumstance that once you've achieved it, how does it feel like? Who all are congratulating you? Who all are you grateful to? Who is there that has helped you most? Who you want to be grateful to? Express your gratitude in your mind, and now inhale deep with your nose, take it to the belly if possible, and then exhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Again, inhale deep. Exhale slowly. The exhalation's length should be double to that of the inhalation, slowly. And again, inhale. And now when you inhale, imagine all the gratitude, all the blessings that have been showered on you. And as you exhale, imagine you are giving it back to the people who have helped you out. You're blessing them. Again, inhale. All blessings are being given to you. Imagine the God whose blessings were showered upon you. And then as you exhale, right, place it onto the life of people you love. Great. Now, just observe your breathing again. Don't have to do deep breathing. And slowly and gently open your eyes. How many of you could see that there was an obstacle and you could, find an idea how to handle it? Okay, many of you. So that's the crux of this visualization thing. You will generate insights, new ideas, how to handle your thing. So whatever idea you get, that the way you will handle it, the key thing is that you practice that now. Studies says if you do anything for 66 days, it will become wired in your brains. Average, kabhi kabhi zyada lagega, kabhi kam lagega, but on an average 66 days. Yes, before we close, I just want to take 2 or 3 questions. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I'll come to you. Yeah. This is a very, very important question. He is asking, because there was no mic, he's asking, is the timing of sleep is also important? See, research has found that when you sleep at night, at around, after the dusk, closely after the dusk, you sleep deep. The purpose of sleep is to have deep sleep so that, your brain gets enough of rest. It is not the duration of sleep also, it is the depth of the sleep. So if somebody, is habituated to sleep in the morning, like A.R. Rahman, he sleeps in the morning from 8 to 3 during the day. So he has wired his, environment in a way that he can have no noise. He can go really into deep sleep. If that is possible, timing is not important. But usually, the silence is required for deep sleep. Otherwise, you will sleep long, but not deep. Right? Did I answer your question, sir? Yeah? Anybody else?
So my name is Vaishnavi from class 10th D. I am from Brahma Prakash DAV School, Kanchan Bagh.
Okay.
My question is, we think stress as positively, but sometimes when we are on stage, on spot, if we get stressed or get panicked, on the spot, what to do so that we get relieved and so that people also don't think that we are stressed? Like
Correct,
subconsciously, what we can do to calm ourselves.
Super. So what's your name?
Vaishnavi Jana.
Vaishnavi, thank you so much for the question. I'll give you one book. Okay, just a minute. The thing is that we have talked about something called leveling, right? Go to the Google and see in that point. But when you're on the stage, you will not be able to do it, right? And others also should not know. So what we need to do is that in other circumstances, when you feel fear, you should, practice, seeing that Google and master the feeling words. Because the challenge is that they're also in the stage, like here, also I can do that. You all do not realize, sometimes I'll close my eyes or not close my eyes and just ask myself, what is my feeling right now? The one moment to get what is your feeling right now, the fear will go. Are you getting it? So you'll have to start mastering the feeling words for that matter. Yeah? One last question. I think there is only 5 minutes. Okay, sir, she is asking.
Hello, sir. This is Joyce from class 9, Suprabhat Model High School.
Somebody is asking. Ashit.
How can we think properly when you are frustrated or have different types of emotions such as happiness, sad, anxiety at a particular situation on the spot?
What is your question? How can you?
How can we think properly when we are frustrated and have different types of emotions at a particular situation on the spot?
What's your name?
Joyce Maria. Joyce Maria.
Joyce Maria. Okay. So I'll call you Maria. Maria, thank you so much for the question. The thing is that there are many techniques. The idea is that always remember there is a neural seesaw. When the emotions are upward, the thinking brain goes down. When the emotions go down, thinking brain goes up. So you'll have to, stop the emotion from going in somewhere, right? So one of the techniques I gave you today, which is level, identify, close your eyes and see what I'm feeling. This is one. There are many others. I'm not going, but do this practice. Is a very powerful practice. Is that okay? Just identify one word, how I'm feeling, and then, you say that I'm throwing off this feeling onto the river, Krishna, and drowning it onto the feet of the Lord. And you will see by that time you have activated your thinking and emotion will go away. Right? Maria? Okay. Yeah, sir. I think we have crossed by 10,
Hello.
15 minutes.
When you get some physical disability or you are not able to do something, you get stress.
Right.
And that leads to a lot of stress in mind. How to release that stress?
Yeah, thank you. Again, this question is similar. Thank you so much, sir. So, I will give you one book because this is a very important question. Okay, so how to, when you have physical disability, you cannot move and things like that, right? I have a friend actually, he suffered from a disease called multiple sclerosis. So he got paralyzed. And, he came to me, there was an unsolicited coaching that I did for him initially. What we found that actually he became the only person on the planet now to have reversed the disease. The remyelination has happened. A lot of research is going on this person. Okay, his name is Prasanjit Chakravarti, right? And he is also now a scientific committee member of the Neuro Rehabilitation Group in India. So what we find that the moment you start believing, like you said, that what Swami Vivekananda said, have intellectual faith, not faith. If you start believing that, I think I will be able to find an answer to it. What has been found that when you do this visualization, the insight suddenly comes in, what is the best thing for me? And when you go on to do those habits, what we find that the people are able to, rehabilitate themselves. That's how the para-Olympians, many people, they have come back to mainstream. But it is a very challenging exercise. You would need a personal coach to help you guide through the process. It's a long drawn process. Right.
Yeah, I think lot of hands I am seeing, at least 20, 25 I was counting. Only I will be requesting you. Sandipon will be here with us. I am requesting, please be here for 5-10 minutes for the students. If you want to ask any question to him, please come to him and directly ask, because of short of time, we cannot continue this session now. I am very, very sorry. We are very, very sorry. Okay. But please, you can ask your question directly. Sandipon will be here, and Sandipon will be taking lunch also together with us. Hopefully, thank you. Thank you. He has agreed. Can you give a big hand, please? Thank you. Great. Sandipon will be here. Okay. So around, please catch hold of him. And we are continuing our session. I
wanted
again.
to, thank the organizer for calling on me to come and serve. In fact, I thought it was a great opportunity for me to come on this 1st July, particularly on this auspicious day, to come and deliver and serve you all. I will remain ever grateful to Chanchalda for calling me. Thank you so much, sir. And I'm also grateful to all my friends, my co-learners who have been here. I look forward to interact with you again more and more. So if you want to give some comments on this session, please go to Google and search Sandipon Brain-Based Coach and give your feedback there. I'll stay ever grateful. It will help me to reach many more people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jadavpur University Alumni Association. Thank you.